Right, are we ready then? Can we start?
We're good
now?
to go. We're going. We're live.
Right. Welcome to 80% Mental. I'm Dr. Pete Olushaga.
And I'm Hugh Gilmore.
And this is a podcast all about the psychology of sport performance.
We are the people who are writing these manuals as sports psychologists on the human. How humans work, especially under stress, or especially in situations in which they have to reach deep inside themselves to pull out their best form.
At a certain level, when you reach this elite level, like everybody is good. The thing that's going to separate you is the mental component.
Sports psychology is what we do. I'm a senior lecturer in psychology. I've worked in sport for 15 years. Hugh's a psychologist too, with loads of experience working with elite athletes and coaches. This is a brand new podcast, so we just wanted to give you an idea of what's coming your way in the first series. Each episode, we tackle a different question, getting to the heart of what sports psych is and why it matters.
What's interesting about sports psychology is it means so many things, which is a benefit and a curse. The benefit is that you can take the principles and practices in sports psychology to so many different areas and be so helpful. The deficit or the challenge is that it's really hard to define what it is.
While I get really excited when I help my athletes perform better, I'm way more excited when I can help them develop as a human. We've seen athletes crash and burn because they haven't had that piece, because it has just been about this sport and they've excelled and they're phenomenal. And then you pull back the curtain and it's like, holy shit, this person's kind of a mess. And everyone is just closing their eyes to it because we got to push them in terms of performing.
Every episode, we're joined by some of the most interesting people in our field.
Professor Dave Collins. Dave's got over 350 peer-reviewed publications and 70 books or book chapters. And as a practitioner, he's worked with over 70 world or Olympic medalists. Dave's got his head in his hands right now.
I should have got out more. I really should.
Dr. Leah Washington, a professor of sports medicine and sports psychology. Leah also wanted me to tell you that her favorite color is glitter. Leah, welcome to 80% Mental.
Hi.
Joining us today is Dr. Josephine Perry. Your book's called Performing Under Pressure.
Yes, so that was the book that I kind of wish I had when I trained.
You won't just be getting exclusive access to the knowledge and experience of some of the smartest people in sports psychology. This podcast has also got all of the things you want as a sports fan. Entertainment, some healthy competition, and the odd bit of swearing at the ref.
Because we're scientists, we're going to objectively, sort of, look at the evidence and settle it once and for all. Who's the greatest athlete of all time, mentally speaking? So as usual, I'm joined by Hugh Gilmore. Hugh, how are you doing?
Not too bad. I'm a bit scared about this episode.
Scared? Why scared?
I believe it's a bit of competition, and also I'm looking at our guests and also realize that they seem more prepared than I am.
She had to run full speed down this runway, tumble, and land on this ankle. And it turned out, actually, she had torn 2 different ligaments in her ankle at the time. And she landed it on 1 foot. And if that's not fucking badass, then I don't know what is.
A lot of what we talk about isn't just relevant to sport either. Coping with stress, building confidence, setting goals that really stick. These are things that most of us want to be better at.
Most of the threats that we have in life are ego. So fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of embarrassment, fear that we've put lots of effort into training for something that we might not achieve.
Mindfulness is more about accepting what we hear going on in our heads. So like in the West, we tend to relate to our thoughts as though they're accurate, as though they are almost equivalent to external reality, that they're sort of almost law-like. I mean, I think we can all readily attest that they're often inaccurate, often irrelevant. They're certainly not the law. We don't have to do what we hear going on in our heads.
There'll be all those things that you might be expecting to hear in a sports psych podcast, and some things you might not.
My last question that I want to get to is probably what everybody's thinking is like, how the hell do I use this if I'm on a date?
Overuse injuries are self-imposed.
Well, I think
you trained, you pushed through, you didn't take the time you needed, maybe didn't get the right treatment. So I'm just saying.
Are you suggesting that the affair was an overuse injury? Because that's a whole other show.
He did go to sex addiction treatment, so we could call that an overuse injury.
Oh, fair enough. I'll just wait until Hugh's finished answering his phone.
Sorry. It's not even my phone. I've just hung up with somebody randomly who's ringing to my other half's house.
My chimp is saying, Joe, you're going to look like an absolute fool. Don't do this. But there's part of my rational brain almost going, what have you got to lose?
So I understand what you're saying. However, it's only delusionary if you don't know what the outcome is, right? Like you have to...
Sorry, who lives near a train track?
Oh, sorry, that's me.
Okay.
The train doesn't agree with you.
I think the train is cheering me on, quite frankly.
The train is deplatforming you.
We really hope that you enjoy listening, and we're looking forward to you joining the conversation on social media. Check out our website, www.80percentmental.com, all words, or at EPM Podcast on Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts.
I think there's not enough out there in the podcast world that like clearly talks about sport and performance psychology. So it's so great what you guys are doing here, and I think it's going to help a lot of coaches and just a lot of people.
Okay, am I going to be allowed afterwards to decide if this actually makes a podcast or not? Yeah.
We'll see.